In the dense forest of northern Michigan, where cell signals vanish and asphalt roads give way to gravel paths, lies Lake Sable, a dark, glacial lake rarely marked on tourist maps. It was here that four college friends, Emily, Darren, Kat, and Lucas, planned to spend the last week of July in a secluded lakeside cabin. The cabin had once belonged to Darren's grandfather, who built it in the 1950s. It hadn't been used much in the last decade, but its isolation made it perfect for a rustic summer getaway. No Wi-Fi, no neighbors, just them and the forest. From the moment they arrived, something felt off. The cabin was musty but intact, yet the surrounding woods were unusually quiet. Not even the sound of birdsong. Darren dismissed it as normal for that part of the state, but Lucas, always the anxious one, made note of it. That night, around a fire pit near the water's edge, they shared drinks and ghost stories. It was a clear night, stars puncturing the black sky above. Emily, a folklore major, recounted a local legend about the drifter of Sable Lake, an old hermit who went missing decades ago. According to the story, he had been murdered by poachers, and now his restless spirit wandered the lakeside at night. People say if you hear humming, Emily whispered, run. He hums when he's close. They all laughed nervously and drank more, but the wind that passed through the trees carried with it an odd tune. A slow, aimless hum. They paused. Then Lucas chuckled, assuming one of them was pranking the others. No one admitted to it. The next day, they went hiking through the woods. Kat wandered off the trail to take photos and found an old, rusted lantern hanging from a tree branch, about 10 feet above the ground. Beneath it, the undergrowth was scorched, like there had been a fire recently. She didn't tell the others at first. That night, the humming returned. This time, it circled the cabin. Darren shined a flashlight through the window, expecting a raccoon or a bear. Nothing. Yet the sound continued. Low, tuneless, aimless. Lucas swore he saw someone standing by the dock. They all agreed to leave in the morning. But in the morning, their car wouldn't start. The engine had been tampered with, wires were cleanly cut. The keys, which Darren left on the kitchen counter, were missing. Then Kat admitted she had seen the lantern. She led them to it, but it was gone. In its place was a crude figure made of sticks and moss, hanging by a noose of twine. Over the next 2 days, the group began to unravel. Food went missing. The generator powering the fridge failed. Footprints appeared around the cabin at night. Always barefoot. Always circling. Emily, trying to be rational, insisted someone was pranking them. But they hadn't seen another person for miles. No signs of vehicles. No boats on the lake. Not even an animal crossing the path. The humming persisted. On the 4th night, Lucas vanished. They found his flashlight on the trail, still lit. His shoe prints led down to the water and then nothing. Just wet, rippled sand. Emily collapsed in panic. Darren took a canoe out on the lake, screaming Lucas's name into the fog. Kat stayed with Emily, but she saw something in the trees. Watching, pale and tall. When Darren returned, he was different. Quiet, distant. That night, Kat saw him standing in the hallway, humming. In the morning, he was gone too. Now it was just Emily and Kat. They barricaded the doors and took shifts staying awake. They tried to hike out but got lost. Trails shifted. Trees looked the same. Kat's camera, forgotten in her backpack, captured a series of photos overnight. One showed a figure outside the window, tall, bony, and wearing a rotted coat. The next showed it inside. On the last night, Emily woke up alone. Kat's sleeping bag was empty. Her flashlight blinked red on the floor, low on battery. Then came the humming. Emily ran. She crashed through the woods, barefoot and screaming. The humming followed. It got louder the further she ran from the cabin. Then silence. She woke up at the edge of a ranger station, scraped and dehydrated. She had no memory of how she got there. A week had passed. Rescuers searched the woods. No cabin was found. No lake. Just wilderness. Emily now lives 3 states away. She never speaks of that summer. But sometimes, when the windows are open and the wind blows just right, she swears she hears humming. In the dense pine forests of Oregon, far removed from city life and electricity, stood Camp Evermoon, a summer camp that hadn't changed much since its founding in 1962. Each year, it welcomed kids aged 12 to 16 for rustic fun. Campfires, canoeing, archery, and hiking. But after a string of incidents in the early 2000s, disappearances, injuries, rumors of a strange illness, it shut down indefinitely. That is, until summer 2023. A new group of investors, interested in restoring historic sites, decided to reopen Camp Evermoon for a limited nostalgia session, a 2-week summer retreat for adults who had attended the camp in their youth. Only 12 people signed up, along with 4 staff: a cook, a nurse, a caretaker, and the program director, Jonah. Among the attendees was Paige, now a 34-year-old nurse who remembered Evermoon with an odd mix of joy and dread. Her brother, Milo, had gone missing the summer of '99, on the last night of camp. No one ever found him. Paige didn't tell anyone this, of course. She came under the pretense of nostalgia, like the others. But she had questions, and something had always drawn her back. The campgrounds were almost identical. Old wooden bunks, a cracked stone fire pit, the same lake with a broken dock. On the second night, a storm rolled in. It knocked out the camp's shortwave radios and generators. The forest went black. People joked about it, until the screaming started. A camper named Chris swore he saw someone outside his cabin. Tall, pale, watching. Paige assumed it was nerves, or a prank. But in the morning, Chris was gone. His bed still made. His shoes gone. No note. Jonah called for a search party, but without power or radio, they were isolated. He took 2 staff and a camper named Laura to drive to the nearest ranger station, 12 miles away. They never came back. Paige, now de facto leader, tried to stay calm. She remembered training from her hospital. Structure helps the brain cope. So she assigned tasks: gathering water, keeping fires lit, staying in groups. The third night, they found the caretaker's truck in the woods. Doors open, windshield shattered. No one inside, but there were drag marks in the mud, leading into the trees. Someone or something was hunting them. Paige and 2 others, Mark and Dana, returned to the lake to see if they could signal help. While there, Dana wandered along the broken dock. She called out. "There's something in the water," she said. It was a bundle, wrapped in tarp. Inside, a camp uniform, drenched and rotted, and a bracelet with the name Milo. Paige collapsed. That night, Dana vanished too. Paige, now frantic, returned to her old cabin from childhood. It had been shuttered for years, dusty. But beneath her bunk, she found something that hadn't been there before. A journal. Milo's. Its entries grew erratic. The dark man walks at night. The lake listens. Don't sleep in the open. The final page. I saw the others go into the trees. They're different now. Paige ran to the woods, ignoring Mark's calls. She followed old memories. A trail behind the archery range, past the creek. There, beneath an ancient pine, she found something impossible. A staircase, stone and black with moss, leading down into the earth. She descended. It wasn't a bunker. It was older, carved, primitive, deep underground. She found a room of stone and ash, bones, symbols, a shallow pool that shimmered like mercury. And in the pool, faces. The lost campers. Chris, Laura, Donna, even Jonah. And Milo, she screamed. A hand reached out from the water. Mark pulled her out just in time. She had been gone 2 hours. They ran. Found an old emergency cabin in the hills. Huddled for the night. In the morning, helicopters came. The signal had reached the outside. Camp Evermoon was shut again. Permanently this time. Paige never found Milo's journal again. Nor the staircase. But in her dreams, she still sees the pool. And hears voices whisper, "Join us." Highway 67 winds through the Texas desert like a snake, long, straight, blistered with heat during the day and nearly invisible at night. It's a stretch of road locals avoid after sundown, especially in the summer, when the air grows thick and weird things tend to happen. A group of 5 friends, Ashley, Jake, Carmen, Lyle, and Brittany, were road tripping to Big Bend National Park in July of 2021. They'd planned a scenic detour along Highway 67, mostly for the thrill of driving under the stars with no lights for miles. Ashley was the only one who'd heard the stories. "You're not supposed to stop for anyone out there," she warned. They laughed it off. Ghost stories, she figured. A way to keep people from picking up hitchhikers. But she remembered her grandfather's tale about a woman he saw once, walking barefoot on the shoulder of 67 at 2 a.m. Her face, he said, wasn't right, like it had been blurred out. She got into his truck without speaking and disappeared 5 miles later. Halfway through their nighttime stretch, Brittany noticed a figure on the roadside ahead. It was a woman, in a white dress, walking with her head bowed, barefoot. The desert heat shimmered around her. "Pull over," Lyle said, thinking she was hurt, but Ashley screamed, "Keep driving." Jake hesitated too long. They passed her slowly. As they did, Carmen looked out the window. "Guys," she whispered. "She doesn't have a face." The car swerved. Ashley grabbed the wheel from Jake and sped up. Everyone started yelling. Then Brittany shrieked, "She's in the back seat." The group turned. The space was empty. Or so it seemed. They pulled over several miles later at a lone gas station. Inside, the clerk, an older man with deep lines in his face, looked at them and asked, "Did you pick her up?"
No, Jaque replied.
The man nodded solemnly. "She doesn't like to be passed." They all decided to sleep at the station until morning. At 3:33 a.m., the lights cut out. The clerk was gone. So was Lyle. They searched the lot. No sign. But Jake's car had new fingerprints all over the rear windows. Long and smudged, like wet oil. In the restroom, written on the mirror, "She rides with the last one who speaks." They turned on each other. "Who said something first after we saw her?" Ashley demanded. Carmen began to cry. "I said she didn't have a face." No one slept. At dawn, they resumed the drive. Carmen insisted they keep moving. Ashley read about similar stories. The Hitchhiker of 67. A woman who died in 1972 after escaping from a cult in the desert. She'd been walking for help, but no one would stop. Her body was found with no eyes.
Notan.
That night, at their motel near the park, the nightmares started. Ashley dreamed of waking in the back seat of the car. The woman was there, just a shape, humming. Brittany saw her in the bathroom mirror, writing in condensation. Jake sleepwalked into the parking lot and stood motionless for 2 hours. The next morning, Carmen was gone. No signs of struggle. Her bags, untouched. On Jake's windshield, in fresh dust, 3 remain. They drove home. Never spoke about it again. Ashley now keeps every mirror covered. Jake sold the car. Still dreams of driving endlessly down that road. And Brittany? She hasn't spoken since. Every July 17th, they all receive a message, no number, no sender. "I'm still walking." There's a stretch of I-80 through Nevada where the land feels empty, like God forgot to finish it. It's nothing but cracked desert and rusted roadside signs for places long abandoned. Just west of Elko, one such place still barely stands. The Sunset Motel. For years, truckers and travelers whispered about it. A roadside dive with flickering neon, a dried-up pool, and a vacancy sign that never turns off. Locals claimed it shut down in 1998 after a triple murder-suicide. Yet the lights kept coming on at night. Some said you could still book a room if you arrived after dark. In July 2017, travel blogger and amateur urban explorer Nora Fields decided to test the rumors. Her YouTube channel, Rust and Ruin, had gained a cult following for her creepy solo adventures. She specialized in forgotten hotels, asylums, ghost towns. She checked in on a Thursday at 8:13 p.m. Her first post from the motel went live at 9:05. An eerie selfie in front of the lobby mirror, captioned, *Room 6 smells like old smoke and cheap perfume. Perfect. *. The comments flooded in, "Be careful. This one gives me bad vibes." She never posted again. Her car was found 3 days later, parked behind the building. Her phone was inside, dead. Her camera equipment, tripod, even her laptop, all gone. The only clue? A motel ledger left in the office. Dated, dusty, with scrawled signatures. The final entry, beneath Nora's name, was a message. Room 6 opened. That was the beginning. Over the next 5 years, 6 people disappeared near that stretch of I-80. Most were last seen at gas stations asking about the Sunset Motel. A couple hikers, 2 urban explorers, a drifter, even a retired police officer. All gone. In 2022, 2 documentary filmmakers, Rico and Dana, decided to make a film about Nora's vanishing. They spent weeks interviewing locals. They found a former housekeeper named Eunice who worked the motel in the 90s. She refused to go on camera. "It was the mirrors," she whispered. "That place is full of mirrors. But they don't show you." "What do they show?" Rico asked. "Her," Eunice said. "She always shows up around sunset." In room 6, the filmmakers ignored her warnings. They checked in. They never left. Their footage, however, was found on a cloud account auto-synced from Dana's phone. It was uploaded posthumously by accident when a hiker found her phone 12 miles from the motel. Battery dead, screen cracked. The final 17 minutes of the footage are now infamous in the urban legend community. The pair explore room 6. The walls are warped, the lighting constantly flickers. Dana complains of hearing whispers from the air vents. Rico jokes that it's all hype. At timestamp 14:22, Dana looks in the bathroom mirror. She screams, "There's someone behind me," she says. But Rico sees nothing. The mirror, however, shows a woman in a white bathrobe, standing motionless in the bathtub. Her face is obscured by her hair. At 16:45, the screen cuts to static. Then a voice, "Welcome to room 6. The last frame shows Rico's face, twisted in confusion. In the mirror, behind him, the woman begins to smile. The footage ends. The motel has since been fenced off by the county, but trespassers still find ways in. Most return, shaken. A few don't. What happens in room 6 remains a mystery. But every year on July 27th, the date Nora arrived, an automatic post goes live on her dormant YouTube channel. A static frame, captioned, "Still checked in." In the heart of Idaho, nestled between jagged ridges and dense pine, lies Black Pine Creek, a narrow, winding river that trickles through an old forest, once sacred to indigenous tribes and now mostly forgotten. Campfire legends warn that the woods near Black Pine hold something ancient. Not evil, but vengeful. Presence. In July 2015, a group of teens from Boise High School, Kenny, Max, Bree, and twins Rachel and Renee planned a weekend camping trip near the creek. It was meant to be a post-graduation celebration before splitting up for college. Kenny's older brother warned them. "Don't build a fire by the water," he said. "That's how he comes." They laughed it off. The first night passed with laughter, drinks, and ghost stories. The forest was quiet, too quiet. No crickets, no wind, just the whisper of the creek. Bree joked about the silence. "It's peaceful," she said. On the second night, they built a large bonfire near the water's edge. Max brought marshmallows. Rachel played music on a Bluetooth speaker. Around midnight, the fire began to sputter, despite plenty of wood. Then a scream. They all turned. It was Renee, staring into the trees. "Someone's out there." They scanned the forest. Just darkness. Kenny picked up a flashlight and aimed it. Nothing. But when he turned it off, they saw movement just beyond the firelight. A shadow. Small. Childlike. A boy. "Who would bring a kid out here?" Bree asked. No one answered. Then the boy stepped closer. His skin was ashen. His clothes tattered. He was barefoot, wet, and smelled like smoke. They tried speaking to him. No response. He raised a hand and pointed to the fire. Then he whispered, "Put it out." They didn't move. He screamed. The fire exploded, wood shattering, embers flying. When they came to, Max had a burn down one arm. Bree was missing a shoe. Rachel had a nosebleed. Renee was gone. They searched the woods with headlamps, screaming her name. They found no trace except for one thing, footprints. Child-sized, barefoot, leading away from the fire and into the river. Then nothing. In the morning, the sheriff's department was called. They found the campsite, scorched and overturned. The ranger said something strange. "You built a fire by the creek?" He refused to go near the site. Back in Boise, Kenny started researching. He found an old newspaper article from 1957. Boy drowns in Black Pine Creek bonfire incident. A young boy named Samuel had wandered from a local camp, lit a fire near the water, and fallen in. His body was never recovered. In the decades since, campers reported seeing a small figure at night. Fires that wouldn't burn, or that burned too hot. And if they ignored the signs, someone would vanish. Rachel began having night terrors. She swore she could hear Renee's voice in her dreams. "She's cold. She's stuck." Max stopped speaking altogether, eventually committed. Bree tried returning to the creek that fall alone. Her car was found 6 miles off-road, doors open, no sign of her. Kenny keeps a journal. He's visited Black Pine 6 more times, always at the height of summer, always hoping to find the boy again. Or Renee. He never lights a fire. But sometimes, when he camps alone and the mist rolls in, he hears a voice whisper, "Thank you." Clearwater Ridge sits at the edge of the Rockies in Montana, a place favored by hardcore hikers and solitude seekers. The ridge offers stunning views of the valley, but the area is treacherous and sparsely populated. Locals say the wind talks up there. Others say it listens. In August 2016, 3 college friends, Lena, Micah, and David, set out for a week-long hiking trip to Clearwater. They were experienced backpackers, well-prepared with gear, supplies, and maps. Their destination was an open plateau 2 miles past the ridge summit where few campers ever tread. They pitched 3 tents in a circle and lit a campfire. The first 2 nights were uneventful. Long hikes, quiet meals, star-filled skies. On the 3rd night, Lena woke suddenly. A sound outside. Footsteps. Soft and slow like bare feet on moss. She unzipped her tent just enough to peek. A 4th tent stood across from hers. Pale green. Sturdy. Taut. It hadn't been there before. She assumed one of the others had set it up late and went back to sleep. In the morning, the fourth tent was still there. "Who put that up?" she asked. Micah and David exchanged confused looks. Neither had done it. They cautiously approached. It was clean, zipped shut.
No footprints.
No signs of gear. No one answered when they called out. David unzipped it. Empty. But not completely. Inside was a photo. An old Polaroid. It showed the three of them around their current campfire. The clothes, the setup, everything matched. Except behind them a figure stood in the trees. Tall. Thin. Blurred. As if moving during the exposure. David stuffed the photo into his jacket, muttering that someone was messing with them. That night, the fire wouldn't stay lit. The lighter sparked, the wood was dry, but the flame died within seconds. They went to bed early. 2:14 a.m., Micah screamed. Lena and David found him outside his tent, staring at the sky. "It's gone," he whispered. The stars. The sky above their campsite was pitch black.
No moon.
No stars. Like something had covered the sky above them. Then they noticed the fourth tent was gone. In its place was a small pile of stones, stacked deliberately with a second photo. This one showed Micah, standing outside his tent, screaming, exactly as he had just been. Same posture, same angle. No one had taken it. David wanted to hike back at first light. Lena agreed. But at sunrise, their trail markers were gone. Every tree looked the same. They wandered for hours. Then they found the fourth tent again. Identical. Clean. Unzipped. Inside was a third photo. David. Dead. Face down in the river. David laughed nervously. "Screw this." He burned the photo. That night, the fourth tent vanished again. And David did too. They found his jacket in a tree. Torn. Empty. Lena and Micah built a perimeter. Sat back to back through the night. At dawn, Micah was gone. Lena ran. With no trail, no map, she followed the sun east. After 2 days, a rescue chopper spotted her. She was dehydrated, sunburned, raving about a tent that followed them. Search and rescue found their camp. 3 tents. No fourth. But under the fire pit stones was a final photo. Lena, walking out of the woods, alone. And in the background, the fourth tent. Said that some hikers still see it even now. A solitary tent, pristine, waiting. And those who enter never return. The wind on Clearwater Ridge still whispers at night. And it always sounds like a zipper. Summer in southern Alabama is thick with humidity and secrets, especially in the sleepy town of Ridgeland, where the cicadas scream louder than the church bells and time seems to stall in the heat. Every summer, 14-year-old Jessie stayed with her grandmother, Mimi, in an old farmhouse on the outskirts of town. The property was massive, surrounded by tall weeds, rusted fences, and an overgrown pecan orchard. The house itself was built in 1910, full of creaky floorboards and yellowed lace curtains. Jessie loved it, until the summer of 2009. That was the year of the girl. It started in June, after a brutal storm rolled through. Mimi's TV was knocked out, so Jessie spent her evenings reading on the front porch swing. One night, just after sunset, she heard a tap, tap, tap on the screen door. A girl stood there, same age, pale, wearing a simple white summer dress. Mud on her feet, her hair stuck to her face like she'd been in the rain. Jessie asked who she was. The girl said nothing, just stared. Mimi came out and yanked Jessie away, slamming the inner door shut. "You don't talk to her," Mimi said. Jessie didn't sleep that night. In the morning, Mimi was already boarding up the porch windows. "She comes around some summers. Pays no mind if you ignore her." Jessie asked who she was. "Just an old ghost," Maybe not even that. Just don't answer when she knocks. But Jessie was curious. She watched the screen door every night. And sure enough, the girl returned. Same time, same clothes. She never knocked again, just stood there. Mimi lit candles, muttered prayers, and sprinkled salt across every windowsill. One night, Jessie stayed up late, reading under the sheets with a flashlight. Just before 2 a.m., she heard footsteps on the porch. The boards creaked. The swing moved. Then, soft as wind, Jessie. The girl was calling her name. She peeked through the curtains. The girl now stood at the window, just behind the screen. Her eyes were black. Not dark. Asterisk black star. Her fingers long and bent wrong. "Let me in," she whispered. Jessie screamed. Mimi found her under the bed, shaking. The next morning, they went to the Ridgeland Library. Mimi pulled out old county records. In 1934, a girl named Clara May died on the property. She had drowned in the orchard's irrigation ditch after being locked outside during a storm. She was 14. Her photo matched the girl at the door. That night, Mimi prepared a circle of salt, sage, and black candles. "She only comes for someone," she said. "She chooses." At 3:13 a.m., all the candles blew out. The house went silent. Then the tapping began again. From every window, every door.
Asterisk top, 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 asterisk.
Jessie held her breath. Then a scream from Mimi's room. Jessie ran in. The bed was empty. Sheets twisted. The screen door to the porch wide open. No sign of Mimi. Only the girl, standing at the edge of the orchard, smiling. Jessie fled the house barefoot and ran to town. No one believed her story. The house was locked up, sold the next spring. But each summer, on the hottest nights in July, neighbors still report lights flickering inside. And sometimes, just before a storm, kids walking by swear they hear a girl's voice from the porch swing. "Let me in." Jessie never returned to Ridgeland. But last July, on the anniversary of that night, her daughter found an old photo in their attic. It showed Mimi, smiling on the porch, and behind the screen door, the girl. In the rural town of Willow Grove, nestled among rolling hills and cornfields, sits the hollowed remains of St. Alden's Preparatory School. A red brick monolith with shattered windows, ivy-choked walls, and a bell tower that hasn't rung in 50 years. Locals say the school closed after the summer of 1974. The official reason was low enrollment, but older residents remember the real reason. A tragedy no one speaks of aloud. In July 2020, a group of urban explorers from a YouTube channel called Threshold Seekers decided to break into the old school for a late-night live stream. The team included Alyssa, the host, her brother Nate, the cameraman, and two friends, Deshawn and Tanya. The footage is still online. The video begins with them prying open a side door at dusk, laughing, narrating, exploring dusty hallways filled with decayed desks and yellowed report cards. Alyssa jokes about ghosts. Deshawn tries to spook the group by imitating a child's voice. But around the 14-minute mark, something changes. The camera's audio picks up a soft, rhythmic clang. Faint, metallic, like a bell swinging. They make their way toward the main hallway, where the old bell tower stairwell begins. The wood is rotted, the stairs unstable. "Let's go up," Alyssa says. Tanya refuses. She stays downstairs while the others climb. The footage glitches briefly. Then, as they reach the midpoint of the stairwell, the bell tolls once. A long, low, guttural sound that shakes the camera. "Guys," Nate says, "that wasn't wind." Deshawn's flashlight flickers. Behind them, the stairs creak. They turn. A figure stands below them. A boy, maybe 11, wearing a prep school blazer. His face obscured by shadow. He says nothing. They run. Down past the boy, out the doors. Only 3 make it. Tanya is missing. They scream her name. Call 911. The police search the property and find her body at the base of the bell tower. No sign of trauma. Her expression frozen in terror. Her hands clasped around her ears. The coroner rules it cardiac arrest. 2 weeks later, Alyssa receives an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, an old class photo from St. Albans, dated 1973. A group of smiling boys in uniforms. One circled in red. The boy from the stairwell. On the back of the photo, written in faded ink, he rings for the chosen. Research reveals a student named Malcolm Price fell from the bell tower during summer school in 1974. Some say he was pushed. Others say he jumped after being locked in as a cruel prank. His body was found with his ears bleeding. His face frozen in a silent scream. Now every summer someone new hears the bell, and someone else never comes down. The bell hasn't tolled since 1974, except for that night. Lake Mercy sits in a remote corner of northern Minnesota, flanked by dense birch forests and loons that cry deep into the night. Locals fish it year-round. Kids swim there every summer, but old folks avoid it after dark. They say the lake has moods, and when the water glows, someone is taken. In July 2014, a research intern named Danica Shaw arrived at Mercy Lodge, a camp science hybrid built for high schoolers interested in ecology. Danica was studying freshwater algae blooms but also collecting data on local folklore. The first week was normal. Clear skies, fish nets, lectures, hiking. Then came the glow. It started as faint pulses under the water near the western cove. Soft green flickers, as though something bioluminescent moved just beneath the surface. The campers were mesmerized. One kid joked it was aliens. Another called it a mermaid's lantern. Danica logged the event. She returned with a drone camera the next night. That's when Mia, a 15-year-old camper, vanished. The counselor in charge swore she'd been standing right next to her. 1 second she was watching the water, the next, nothing. Her footprints ended at the shoreline.
No splash. No scream.
Police were called. Drones were launched. Divers were sent in. Nothing. Danica stayed after the camp was evacuated. She couldn't shake the glow. She played back her drone footage from the night before. At 1:27 a.m., a flicker of green. Then a shape. Humanoid. Long limbs. Moving fast beneath the surface. She froze the frame. There were eyes. Too many. She dove deeper into research and found a legend about the Mercy Lights. A local tale told by the Ojibwe tribes and early settlers alike. The lake, they said, was cursed long ago. Not from evil but grief. A boy had drowned during a summer flood. His mother, heartbroken, waded into the water every night calling his name. When she finally disappeared, the lights started. Danica stayed one more night, camped by the lake with her gear. At 2:13 a.m., the lights returned. She approached the waterline. The lights pulsed. Brighter. Closer. Then they changed color from green to blue to red. Her audio logs caught her final words. I think it sees me. Then static. They found her tent, her journal, her drone. But no Danica. The footage ends with a slow pan across the water. The glow beneath the surface swells. And just before the battery dies, a hand presses against the lens. Still wet. Every summer since, rangers at Lake Mercy report strange fogs, dead radios, and lost time. And sometimes, when the moon is high and the water is still, glimmers of green pulse beneath the surface. Calling. The Calhoun Inn was a forgotten gem just outside Savannah, Georgia. Built in 1923, it had been a once-grand summer hotel, attracting wealthy travelers escaping the inland heat. By 2010, it was a rundown bed and breakfast barely clinging to operation. That summer, 19-year-old Bella Caldwell took a summer job as the inn's only night clerk. Her duties were simple: check-ins, light cleaning, and manning the desk until sunrise. The first 2 weeks were uneventful. Most rooms sat empty. The elderly innkeeper, Mrs. Delaney, spent most days napping in the parlor, muttering about the lodger. "Which guest?" Bella asked once. Mrs. Delaney only shook her head. "He checks in when the cicadas sing. Always room 103. Bella assumed it was dementia. Then, on July 3rd, the register bell rang at 3:06 a.m. No one was there. She checked the camera feed: static. Old equipment. Then the front door creaked open. A man stepped in. Tall, gaunt, dressed in a gray summer suit from another era. His shoes were wet, his eyes sunken. He didn't speak, just placed a rusted brass key on the desk. Room 103. She blinked. He was gone. Shaken, she went to the hallway. Room 103's door was closed. Locked. She asked Mrs. Delaney the next morning. "He's early this year," she said. Bella decided to check the room. It had no guests scheduled. She unlocked it and stepped inside. The room was cold, smelled of mildew and roses. The bed was made, the mirror covered in a sheet. The closet creaked. Inside hung a gray summer suit. On the nightstand, an old, yellowing photo of a wedding party. In the back row stood the man from the lobby. That night, Bella dreamed of drowning. The hallway filled with water. Room 103's door opened, and the man beckoned her inside. She woke up coughing. Her bed was soaked, but not with sweat, with river water. She quit the next day. The new clerk lasted a week. Then another. All complained of cold drafts, flickering lights, and waking to find the register open to room 103. Eventually, the inn shut down. But locals say if you walk by the front lobby during a hot summer night, you might see a man standing by the desk, leaving a key that shouldn't exist. And if you knock on room 103, you might hear a voice reply, "Welcome back." In the summer of 1988, the sleepy lakeside town of East Marlow revived its county fairgrounds for a 4th of July celebration. The centerpiece of the fair was a towering Ferris wheel, old, refurbished, imported from a defunct traveling carnival. The townspeople were ecstatic. It gave the fair a nostalgic charm. But there was one odd rule posted at the base of the Ferris wheel: closed after 11:59 p.m.
No exceptions.
Nobody questioned it. Until July 3rd, when a group of teenagers dared each other to sneak back into the fairgrounds after midnight. Among them were Charlie, his girlfriend Eliza, and their friend Marcus. They scaled the fence, broke into the control booth, and powered up the Ferris wheel. It roared to life with groaning metal and flickering bulbs. They laughed, climbed in, and took a ride. At exactly 12:03 a.m., something changed. The wind stopped. The wheel kept turning, but the sky turned too dark. The town lights faded, and suddenly the fairgrounds were empty.
No sounds.
No people. Just the three of them, stuck on a rotating wheel in an impossible silence. Then the ride stopped. They were at the top. From the shadows below, someone stepped out. It wasn't a fair employee. It was a clown, tattered, pale, makeup streaked, holding a balloon that wasn't red but gray. He waved. Then the wheel turned again. Every time they passed the bottom, the clown was closer. Charlie screamed to jump. They waited until they were low enough. Eliza went first, spraining her ankle but managing to run. Marcus followed. But Charlie never jumped. He screamed once, then nothing. When the others reached the street, The world was back to normal. The wheel had stopped. The lights were off. And Charlie was gone. The town searched for days. No leads.
No footy.
The fair continued, but the Ferris wheel was dismantled before the end of the month. A year later, on the anniversary of that night, a maintenance worker found something wedged in the gears of the old ride. Charlie's wallet. Dry. Intact. And inside it, a photo that hadn't been there before. Charlie, seated at the top of the Ferris wheel, smiling. Behind him, rows of empty cars. And at the bottom, the clown, still waving. Now the fair avoids midnight hours. And that ride? It was sold. But rumor has it, every July, wherever the wheel turns next, someone disappears after 11:59 p.m. The lights flicker. The music plays backward. And if you're high enough, you might see him waiting below, balloon in hand. Route 41 in western Pennsylvania is quiet, lined with farmland and old, collapsing barns. The stretch between Pine Hill and Weatherford is particularly empty. 20 miles with no gas stations, no homes, and barely a bar of cell service. Except for one thing, a vending machine. It stands alone at a roadside turnout.
No branding.
Rusted white paint, a flickering light above it. No power line in sight.
No logos.
Just a hand-painted sign. Cold drinks.
No refunds.
In July 2012, a travel blogger named Eric Tan stopped there during a heat wave. He posted a photo on his site, captioned, asterisk, creepiest machine I've ever seen, but the root beer was ice cold, asterisk. He vanished 3 days later. That photo is still on his site. But GPS metadata shows something strange. It was taken 14 miles from where he said. Eric's rental car was found in a ditch. Doors open. No sign of struggle. No sign of Eric. His camera lay in the grass. One picture burned into the screen. It showed the vending machine. But now it was surrounded by fog. And in the reflection of the glass, Eric's face. Screaming. Locals call it the sip. Legend says if you buy a drink and leave immediately, you're fine. But if you linger, if you take a second sip, the world shifts. In August 2018, 2 teens dared each other to drink from it. Only one came back. The survivor claimed he never saw the machine again after they walked away. But he heard his friend's voice on the radio days later, broadcasting on a dead station. I'm still thirsty, it said. In 2020, a trucker named Vance swerved off Route 41. His dashcam captured 3 seconds of footage before it glitched. A figure stood next to the vending machine, eyes glowing faint red. No face. His last recorded words to dispatch, "There's a man in the machine." Now, Route 41 is avoided at night. But the machine still works. No power source.
No maintenance.
Still stocked. And sometimes, when the fog rolls low and you hear the hum of a compressor where no outlets exist, you'll see it. Waiting. Just don't look at your reflection. And whatever you do, never take a second sip. In the summer of 1996, the Covington Youth Leadership Retreat gathered at Pine Hollow, a sprawling campground deep in the Colorado Rockies. 40 high schoolers, 10 counselors, and a week of motivational talks, hiking, and campfires. The retreat was sponsored by a wealthy nonprofit with ties to a religious group. Not a cult, they claimed, just structured guidance. On the third night, something strange happened. A counselor named Jeff discovered a cassette tape on the cabin steps. No label, just a piece of masking tape across one side with the word, "Play me." He brought it to the fire pit that night, joking about spooky music. They brought out an old boombox, pressed play. It wasn't music. It was silence, then static, then the voice, faint, raspy, indistinct at first. But as the tape progressed, the words became clearer. They are watching. From inside the trees. Then a child's laugh. Then screaming. One camper, Melissa, vomited. The boombox burst into flame. They stomped it out, thinking it was a prank. But the next morning, one cabin was empty. All 4 campers gone. Beds still made. Backpacks untouched. Panic spread. The camp radio wouldn't work. Tires were slashed. The director tried to keep order, saying the kids had run away. That night, another tape appeared. This time, slipped under a counselor's pillow. The audio was worse. Distorted growls, reversed whispers. At minute 3:42, the same voice again. The 4th fire burns for the 4th group. The bonfire, untouched, roared to life. One camper claimed he saw faces in the flames. More kids disappeared. By the 5th night, only a dozen people remained. Jeff recorded a message with a handheld camcorder. If we disappear, find the tapes. Burn them. No one heard from the group again. A ranger found the camp abandoned weeks later. The tapes? Found buried in the ashes of the fire pit. The camcorder was intact. Its final footage shows the remaining group huddled around the fire, sobbing. In the woods, dozens of eyes blink. One by one, the fire dims, and the tape ends. The Pine Hollow site was bulldozed. Now it's fenced off.
No trespassing.
But campers in nearby sites claim they sometimes hear whispers through their tent radios. Static. Then the voice. Burn the 4th fire.